to make of this whole thing. It is not unusual, although 102 days is an unusually short period of time, but it's not unusual for a president to have to make a personnel change early. You hire these people, maybe they fit in, maybe they're not the right person, you got to make a change. So hiring the wrong person is not the sin here. The sin is how they executed this. Just do the timeline of events here. Well, Signalgate was weeks ago when everyone called for his firing. Trump defended him, said it wasn't a big deal, sent out every Republican in America to defend him. Then Michael Waltz goes out on TV this morning to show for the administration. Then it is leaked to disgraced right-wing journalist Mark Halperin that these firings are happening. Then no one in the White House seems to know, so it takes a long time for anyone of consequence to be able to confirm it. Then hours later, as you pointed out, Trump announces via Truth Social that Mike Waltz is going to become the ambassador to the United Nations, a job that is vacant 102 days of administration because Donald Trump had to pull the nomination of the person of Elise Stefanik because, like Mike Waltz, he had nominated a bunch of people from the House during the most narrow House majority in a century. There's Senate confirmation for that. It is also a job where it's bad to invite reporters to group chats involving top secret information. He has no plan for who is going to replace Mike Waltz, so he appoints the Secretary of State, a person who has an entirely other job that requires them to travel the world, making it very hard to be the interim national security advisor, a job that largely requires you to be in the White House running a policy process.
Well, it requires you to be in the White House unless you conduct most of your job over Signal.
I get that. That is true. That is a good point. And so and then the Tammy Bruce that he points Marco Rubio that, but no one in the State Department. Marco Rubio might have learned in that moment with Tammy Bruce that he was being the interim national security advisor.
I like to think that's probably what happened.
It's just, there are so many hard things that happen for presidents, so many tough decisions, so many tough things. And when they screw up the easy stuff, it should make you really worried about the hard stuff. And they fumbled every bit of this through the process. It's just, it's a giant mess.
What happened to Susie Wiles running a tight ship?
Yeah, I never really bought that one, John.
She, even around the 100 days, there's some interview where she was like, yeah, she succeeded because she never tries to calm Trump down or change things or anything, but she does, she's really good at creating a process and getting things in order for be a process. So I'm like, it seems like this process got away from her a little bit.
Yeah, it seems like they all do.
So everyone obviously went right to Signalgate on why Waltz lost his job, got a promotion. Who knows what it is? But, The Atlantic did some reporting on this, and apparently, Signalgate was just one of many issues that he had. But way before Signalgate, there was this view that he wasn't MAGA enough for the rest of the crew, that he was too much of a neocon, too much of a hawk for this.
Hence the Loomering.
He didn't play well with others, couldn't manage his staff well. Apparently, not only did he piss off Laura Loomer because I guess he wasn't enough of a fucking lunatic, but he pissed off Susie Wiles, speaking of Susie Wiles, because he treated her like staff, reportedly, when that's not what you do to the White House chief of staff, because she's the chief of staff.
Could you read me back Susie Wiles' title again?
Yeah, she would be the chief of staff.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember I think it was maybe Dennis McDonough telling us he'd gotten some advice from former chiefs of staff. And the best chiefs of staff are the ones who think the emphasis goes on staff, not chief.
Yeah.
Seems like Susie Wiles falls in the former category.
Right. It was also funny right after this Mike Waltz announcement. There was a picture of him that Reuters caught from Wednesday's cabinet meeting, or Tuesday, whenever the fuck it was. And it's just a picture of him on Signal. And they zoom in, and you can see he's got a conversation with J.D. Vance, and one with Marco Rubio, and a call from Tulsi Gabbard, and another message from Steve Witkoff. So he just has his phone out in view of the cameras, texting people on Signal.
Yes, that is irresponsible, as we've said before. It's A, irresponsible to use Signal. It's B, irresponsible to use Signal on live television. But it's also a violation of the Presidential Records Act.
Yeah.
They're doing all of this to avoid creating records that could then be subpoenaed one day by obsequious prosecutors or a Democratic majority or whatever else. That keeps getting glossed over by the idiocy of adding Jeff Goldberg to the group chat.
Right. Yeah, there is. I mean, we've skipped over the whole Presidential Records Act. You're required all that bullshit. Just, what are your thoughts on whether Mike Waltz actually gets confirmed to be the UN ambassador? Because he's now going to have to do a confirmation hearing. Like, he's answered some reporters' questions, or he used to answer a few reporters' questions about Signal. A lot of what he said to the reporters was just lies. Now he's going to have to go to a Senate confirmation hearing, be under oath, and answer even more questions about Signal, which is probably not great for him, not great for Pete Hegseth, not great for any of them.
You raising these questions has happened before anyone in the Trump administration raised those questions.
unless this was like punishment. Maybe it's not a promotion. Maybe it's just punishment. Now you have to go
I
to
think
the
this
Senate to go to
is
the confirmation
Donald Trump realizing that he asked this guy to give up his congressional career for 102 days of humiliating servitude and was just looking for a place to put him. And also, if you look, there was some reporting on this before, that one of the reasons why Trump did not fire him in the outset was he didn't want to give his critics a win.
Mm-hmm.
So by being able to pretend that this is some sort of promotion to this necessary but vacant position, he can continue to live in that reality. When you actually will he actually get confirmed? I think that's an open question. This is not an easy no. Trump doesn't care about this guy. So this isn't like sinking RFK Jr. or Hegseth. Like, will he be able to answer those questions under oath? Will that go well? It's a good question. Who knows?
I mean, one thing's for sure. It guarantees that the whole Signal scandal is in the news for another day, someday down the line, whatever the hearing is. So that's fun.
People had stopped talking about Signal.
Yeah.
And so Trump waited to the exact moment when it finally faded from the news to then
bring it back
fire
up.
this guy and bring it right back up again. Just master communicator, that one.
Well, excited for Marco for his new job. Just more opportunities to be humiliated.
Can I give you a take on this?
Yeah.
I think this is the way in which he gets Marco out and Steve Witkoff in.
Oh, out like for good? From
good.
all the jobs? Or does Marco has a third job, by the way, that we should mention, which he is the National Archivist.
National Archivist. Is he no longer running USAID?
Well, USAID is like officially done. I mean, it is like
it doesn't exist.
Whatever foreign aid we still have is within the State Department. So in that sense, he's there. But no.
He's like the security guard at a zombie mall, basically.
He's got all the important jobs, Marco.
But what I think happens here is he does this job for a while. Trump decides he should do the job. He forces him to give up his State Department job. Witkoff comes in. And now Trump has his punching bag with him every single day. The problem is it's hard to humiliate Rubio when he's off in different time zones all the time. Now he will be down the hall.
Yeah, I mean, the only way that he could humiliate Rubio more at this point is to put an actual dog collar around him and like have a chain.
Just make him
where Rubio's just walking next to Trump on all fours.
I mean, we get that for the pot art?
This is the first 100 days, so I
hope someone is going to an AI image creator and see if we can get that made.
I'm thinking of the scene, the end of what that movie? What was it? This Is the End. Remember the one with you know the scene I'm talking about.
Seth Rogen.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, that's what I'm thinking about. Let's get to something that really matters. Donald Trump's new war on Christmas, which is part of his broader war on the U.S. economy and people who buy things. On Wednesday, we got the news that the economy actually shrank over the first few months of 2025, despite being projected to grow. To save you all the trouble of Googling the official definition of a recession, it's 2 consecutive quarters of the economy shrinking. So 1 down, 1 to go. The worst part, the GDP data that we got is from January through March. So before Trump announced his Liberation Day tariffs that are currently wreaking havoc all over the world, in the markets, tanking consumer confidence, causing all kinds of U.S. companies to warn us about empty shelves, higher prices, factory closings, layoffs. Trump was asked about all this during the cabinet meeting where Mike Waltz was very busy on Signal. And boy, did Trump nail the answer. Let's listen.
Core GDP, and this is, you probably saw some numbers today. And I have to start off by saying that's Biden. That's not Trump, because we came in on January. This is the quarterly numbers. So this is Biden. And you could even say the next quarter is sort of Biden, because it doesn't just happen on a daily or an hourly basis. They made $1 trillion with Biden, $1 trillion, even $1.1 trillion with Biden selling us stuff. Much of it we don't need. Somebody said, the shelves are going to be open. Well, maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30, and maybe the $2 will cost a couple of bucks more than they would.